go. I want the match to start already. I don't care about the draft. I just want to play, man. I'm looking forward to this game. I mean, obviously, Dawn, probably the real star of the show out of the qualifiers, not dropping a single match throughout the whole qualifiers. I mean, obviously, they've got a really hard match here today going against Zinc, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good series, to say the least.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. You know, Dawn, again, let's put it, not dropping a game. They are one of the two teams that qualified through the qualifiers. Of course, Rexar is the other team that finished as the runner-up there. They're playing against BMG. But again, Dawn here as one of those, one of the newbies, you could almost say, in terms of you got the 6 teams initially from the Carnage Caldivar. They've been competing. I mean, Shrek is Love, The Last of Us, Recent Gaming, Willowkeeper, and then, of course, your top 2 elite teams in Sync and BMG. They've been playing quite a bit against one another, though, with that CIC. So Dawn, on the other hand, they've been sure that they won. They didn't drop a match. They were playing some good teams, but they weren't playing these, again, kind of the diamond level teams, obviously. So I think the question that a lot of us had going into this now is, how are they going to match up? Obviously, they got a tough challenge right off the bat. I mean, so what do you think? I mean, do you think they're going to actually put up a good fight here, or is Sync going to be like, well, we're Sync?
I have to admit, like, although they were facing, worse competition, the qualifying league. I mean, even if you're facing, poor quality teams, you can still make mistakes as a team. And I have to admit, watching Dawn quite closely, I don't think they made that many mistakes, if any, I have to say. And one thing to point out, actually, I mean, they've been doing their research. I mean, I've been talking to Certes. I mean, we're quite close, and he talks about how he researches all these teams, and it's notable already. Look at this first ban come out from Revenant. I've been watching a few scrims come out from Zinc, and they've been playing a lot of Revenant. And already Certes knowing, or sort of showing that he's been doing his research, blind bans that already in the draft.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So, exactly, these teams, I would like to think, all 8 of these teams obviously have been scrimmaging to a certain extent. No doubt both these teams have. So, yeah, exactly, doing their research. That's a good start, to say the least. I mean, that's where it begins, obviously. But then there's the playing and obviously playing it out ultimately. Now, I will say, they got a strong hero to start things off. They do get their Cthulhu font here to go. So, and I've kind of been on this impression that, there's been a lot of talk about Cthulhu font. Is he really that powerful? I actually played against him the other day a couple times in TMM, and I'm finally on the motion of, okay, I see what people are talking about. The hero's ridiculous, with that aura especially, going up against him. So, I think that's a comfortable start, to say the least, for Dawn here.
Definitely. One thing what's quite interesting to note, though, is that Flintsmeister already picked up the Tempest in the second pick. I mean, throughout the qualifiers, we haven't really seen any Tempest pick, and if we did, it was very, very poor. I don't know if Quincy's got the stats. Yeah, it's the Tempest. Okay, 55% win, which isn't too bad. Isn't amazing either. But I have to admit, I mean, Tempest has been little sort of fading out of the sort of the meta game. Like, only 20 games. Yeah, he's got a 55% win ratio, but just something we really haven't seen too often. So I'm interested to see how Zinc are going to play this.
Yeah, so another thing to talk about too is, speaking of those initial bans real quickly, is you talked about the Revan. Obviously, that's just good research there. How about the Parasite ban? Now I say that because Parasite did actually get a nerf this last patch when a couple of heroes that got some changes. He no longer, to speak of the specifics, he has to wait 5 seconds before he can go in another creep. Basically, the cooldown on Infest goes off when he comes out of the creep, so he can't jump from one to the next if he's been in it for a while. Do you think that's enough to be he's not too strong, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think before he was a very, very strong, borderline broken, but after that nerf, I think he's down to the level where I think he should be. I think the hero is still very, very strong, and at the same time, I mean, if you think about who Certes or who Dawn are playing against, they're playing against Zlap, probably arguably one of the best Parasite players in the game. So no wonder we see a ban on Parasite, to be honest.
Yeah. So, see the bans there. Obviously, the picks coming out. We already mentioned about Cthulhu Fun. They got the Magnus Torture to follow. Very strong there. You talked about Sync Esports with Tempest. They also got Kraken Glacia. So, definitely got their AoE synergy coming about. Hell, both these teams definitely got quite a bit when it comes to that. Look at that Balfagor ban coming out first by Certus there. He wants to make sure no cheese to be had, please. No cheese. Mage Bane in response. But again, that's one of those, speaking of Certus, we've talked about that. Speaking of that also, actually, another one of his heroes, Tremble, no longer in tournament rules. Guess what? Yeah. They were like, you know what? Yeah, he was reworked. Let's take him out. Let's tone him up before putting him back in. So I'm sure Certus was hurt by that, but it makes sense.
And look at this second ban count from Flensmeister. Even he has done a lot of research, which I think is a lot of respect coming to this Dawn team. I mean, probably some of the top teams wouldn't expect or even try and do research on the up-and-coming teams, but both of these bans, Magebane and Bloodhunt, are obviously key and signature Certes heroes, and they've been banned out here. So, I mean, interesting to see how much other research Zinc have done against this Dawn team. One thing to note, though, is like Oogie, another key hero for Certes, is still on the board. Whether they're going to pick that up, I'm not 100% sure. They don't really have that kind of pushing lineup where I think Oogie can shine, for example, with like the Torture and Ophelia, as Ophelia is banned out here. So it'll be interesting to see what carry Certes decides to pick up here, though.
Now, some very interesting stats coming up from Quincy. Well, as always, that he's pointing out here, that he pointed out initially. Again, we're still working on getting a better format. I know it's not the best format for getting the information across, but hopefully, it's good enough for now. We got the content, and so big shout out as always to Quincy there. One hero is that Sync's best hero throughout CIC at least was Kraken. In 14 games, he gave them an 85.7% win percentage. Obviously, they got that hero. And then another stat he brought up before they were actually picked up on the opposition, they enjoy facing Magnus and Torture, both of them even, about 15 games each, and because that's their highest win percentage against those heroes. So it's like things in stats-wise are kind of lining up right now for the favor of Sync here as far as comfort factors for them. Swiftblade going to be the pickup here for Dawn, obviously, and most likely the carry of choice.
I actually really do like this pickup coming out from Swiftblade. I mean, we saw in Swiftblade in the qualifiers and even in the Carnage of Caldivar Cycle 2, this hero is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's very, very good in the tri lane, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you can still sort of just put farming him in, say, like in the dual lane, in the short lane. Heck, you could probably put him in the sort of suicide lane, 1v2, 1v1. So I do like the pickup here. I mean, he hasn't been banned out. The hero's still very strong. Isn't the strongest heroes, like probably against sort of like Tempest and Kraken, in the sense obviously that superior lockdown, so the Blade Frenzy doesn't do too much. But at the same time, obviously, you can cancel Tempest ultimates with the Swift Flashes.
Yeah. So that's a fair point too. So we'll see. Now again, though, the thing with the Swiftblade pickup, usually when we see the Swiftblade pickup, it's earlier on for one, and two, they got the makings of the trialing early on. It's kind of showing that. So obviously with this later on pickup, they didn't really show that information. Now Empath is still on the board, so that's what I'm personally eyeing right now, and I think it's safe to say, okay, there you go. Yeah, not a surprising pick. I take credit for that, sure, but it's not like I was a freaking genius in terms of picking Empath right there as they were. So does that mean we're going to see a trialing, you think, or is it going to be more of a 2-2-1?
The only problem is I don't think we're going to see a trialing because obviously Zincs have picked up the Tempest. And this is the one, I don't know, I've got one little issue I have with Dawn picking up like the Empath and Swiftblade, because that's almost like, they need to be in a tri-lane for it to work out. I mean, obviously they can do dual lanes, but at the same time, if they do run the tri-lane, obviously, Zinc are just most likely going to put Tempest in the opposite jungle and maybe put the Wretched Hag in the short lane, or even another suicide hero like Kraken, for example. And at the same time, you'd have Slapped farming in the jungle with his Tempest, and the suicide going against 1v3. While 3 here or 2, the supporters aren't really doing too much. So in that sense, the golden XP is going to get further and further in terms of Zinc. So in that sense, unless Dawn can really start getting the hero kills on the board in terms of roaming, I think Zinc are slowly but surely going to sort of take this game away just in terms of golden XP through the farming Tempest.
Now, real quickly before we get over these final pick areas, actually, that's going to be right there. Devour going to be coming out, and I'm excited for that. Of course, Mickey, a.k.a. Annie, more so Mickey that we know him by, going to be playing the Devour here, and I think it's safe to say a lot of people are going to be excited about that one. I'm looking forward to if he's using the Ursula Core Avatar or not, as far as
I hope so.
the new one. Yeah, that's pretty badass. So, out of all the avatars that hero has, I would love to see that one there. Real quickly, though, BMG versus Rexar is obviously one of the other 4 matches that is going on here for this first round. It is being covered by Znooey over there on twitch.tv/Znooey. So if you are curious to watch that, you want to get some dual stream going on, definitely check out that as well for Bad Monkey Gaming versus Rexars. I know ourselves especially, and again, it's understandable everyone curious about BMG especially too, not only because they're just a great team, a fun team to watch as always, but they do got a new roster that they're going to be going with here, going into cycle number 1, of course, with now Xibe, and of course back with Super KGE on top of that. So going to be fun to see how that plays out. But back to this one again, Mickey on Devour. A fun final pick right there. You think it makes sense for the lineup?
I can understand it because I think what they're going to look to do is have maybe the Hag in the short lane, Kraken still go suicide, and then just run the Glacius Devourer in mid. And this works quite well because obviously Glacius Devourer mid, a very strong dual lane. We used to sort of see it back, in Hontor Season 2. But at the same time, and I think I've mentioned before on the last cast, even if they're going to go against a solo, you always want to have that kind of hooker when you're going against a solo because obviously that way you can sort of ensure kills that you wouldn't obviously get if you're like a Magnus or a Pebbles. So in either way, I think actually the way Zinc have laned this is quite well actually. Because obviously, if they do go against a tri lane, Hag's just going to most likely just get his safe XP and maybe not a lot of farm, but shouldn't die. While they have Tempest farming in the jungle, they're doing good, in the middle lane, and Suicide Kraken having his farm on as well. So either way, I think Zing are quite prepared for any lanes that Dawn sort of throw at them.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, a pause to start things off. Going into game number one, again, we finally begun, man. You want to say we got in the game while we're in the game. Got a pause, but hey, wouldn't be a new season, frankly, without a pause to get things started here. Going into the anticipation, he is using the new Ursa Core Devo again. I'm excited for that. Not only just the animations and stuff, but the lines that she says too. Yeah, it is pretty badass indeed. So gonna be going that. And speaking of Ursa Core, actually. Throw up that image once again for those that may not have heard yet. The official prize pool. Now this is just for the Diamond Division. Overall, I think it came to $30,000. 344 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But for Diamond, that breaks into $28,262 is the Diamond Division prize pool. You can kind of see the breakdown right there. First place is taking home over $8,000. And this is just from a 2-week event. This is the first cycle of 8. I mean, that's the really big thing to keep in mind here. I mean, this alone, this is equivalent to the previous DreamHacks, a lot of LAN event, big-time epic events that we've had in the past.
And in a 2-week
exactly,
time frame,
2 weeks online, and it's something that's going to be repeating itself. So, big shout out to you, the community, of course. Obviously, without you guys, it wouldn't be nearly that high. So, definitely deserving of that. But it's a win-win for everybody. Win for the players, obviously. More money is always nice. Win for us, and it gets more hype going and everything. So, it's good to see that, to say the least. So, we're waiting on Dawn, it looks like, to be officially ready.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about each team's sort of strategy going into this game. So you see Legion, obviously, they've kind of got quite a lot of roam potential. Say with the Magnus, the Cthulhu, and obviously the dual support, which obviously sort of screams early aggression and early gank potential. So in terms of that, their sort of game plan is, particularly in the laning phases, at least get as much farm probably on either the Magnus or the Swiftblade. The Magnus in terms of if they want to get the portal key earlier on to really ensure some good team fights, or just Swiftblade in terms of trying to take it late. But I think the main important thing is the rotations coming out from the Torturer and Empath. And for Hellborn, it's more team fight oriented. We'll probably see like an Astrolabe on the Tempest, try and bulk him up. It's sort of similar to the old style of meta. Strong team fight with the Kraken, Tempest, Hag. And then try and get some early towers down as well. And I think either side could definitely win this. I mean, I don't think there's a real advantage here in terms of the draft or the game strategy. It just depends, obviously, who executes the strategy the best.
Of course, that's obviously drafting is obviously one part of it. It's a big part of it, sure, but the playing in itself is the next big step and helps determine a lot of the games is. Well, that's the obvious thing to say. So, you see the lane setup's kind of currently going right here. You got Cthulhu headed top with Torture right now. Torture actually handing off the wards. I don't know if he's just simply doing that event, expecting to go elsewhere, or if he may just simply be at this top lane. You do have Swiftblade with the Empath in the middle, looks like. And, yeah, they are going to send Magnus short. So, it looks going to be running an aggressive dual lane here. Is done. So yeah, I mean they are going up against a Tempest, a short lane Wretched Hag. Is this something that could work? Yeah.
I really, really like it because if you think about it, I mean, Hag, if he was just 1v1, I mean, Hag does incredibly well 1v1. I mean, strong harasser, good CS in general. But going against a dual lane, she's going to get, obviously, a lot less farm. And at the same time, there's no real threat to this Cthulhu or Torturer because the only one who's potentially going to be ganking with them is the Tempest. Although Glacius is, actually might even stay up here perhaps. I think if Glacius does stay up here, this obviously would be a lot of a different story, but he's sort of rotating mid at the same time. Yeah, but going back to the dual lane though, I think there's no real threat for Cthulhu and Torturer because obviously Tempest and Hag can't do too much work against him until maybe say Hag gets level 6 and Tempest gets level 6. But I mean Glacius is rotating over, so I think they're going to dual lane actually. I think actually this is, the way it stands is a lot better for Hellborn because obviously it's like a pseudo defensive tri lane going against But no, Glacius moving again, so I have no idea.
Yeah,
what's going on.
they're really indecisive. I think it's more so that he saw Torture up there. He's like, okay, I'm going to play up top, but then he realized Swiftblade Empath was middle, and so it's like, well, now I got to help Devo out now. Maybe they were expecting a 1v1 mid. Okay, so deciding to go middle in the end. But that does match up now, this 2 vs 2, like I said. Devour Glacius versus a Swiftblade Empath. I think it's your typical, oh, actually Empath in a lot of trouble, or Glacius in a lot of trouble right here. Empath wall comes out, the spin from Swiftblade, he freezes himself, but it's not going to matter. Easy kill in the end. Devour could not do much else.
Yeah, Devour was level 2 at the time, so he didn't actually have Gutling Hook. He just dinged level 2 straight after Glacius stood, so he couldn't even hook him out. For protection there, but I mean, good first blood coming out from Dawn already, looking strong just in game 1 here.
That's obviously got a really big boost of ego, if anything. Again, they know that they're the underdogs, but we interviewed Certis after they officially qualified for this, the captain of Dawn over here, and he made a strong point. They're expecting to get top 4, and they're confident that they can compete against even these top-tier teams such as Sync. When it's all said and done. So, you know, whether they do in the end or not, you know, it's left to see here, but that's the first step. You got to have the confidence. Going into a scared will just usually result in a poor result in itself, so love to hear the confidence, and as we pointed out, we saw Bloodlust kill. Great way to start. And actually, Glacius, he's actually bottom lane now. Yeah, there's a pause coming out of a mini DC or something like that. Okay, I gave you a quick DC sign, so that happens every once in a while for him especially. But kill bottom lane possible.
With Glacius kind of bottom, I think they won't be able to burst him down for full to nothing because obviously Magmus, because they've got the Lava Surge. So I think he should be fine, unless, you know, Kraken and Magmus do trade a lot of auto attacks, gets him around like 60, but they're going in now though.
There we go, Freeze comes out, he can't do anything about that, the charge, it doesn't stun though, and Magmus, I love the patience too. I mean, he doesn't even use his stun, he's like, why use it if I don't need it, just save the mana. And save the cooldown. So very good patience. Now he is at half life, so they could easily go in again. Yeah, he needs to be careful about that. And there's that charge. It does connect. And okay. The patience is one thing, but that was living life on the edge right there, and that did not pay off.
Yeah, that was just a great charge card from Kato, actually. You know, catches him just on the edge. I mean, I didn't expect them to actually to get that kill, but I don't think Magmus did either. But in the end, good kill card from Zing. And look at that experience lead already. And this all goes back to Tempest, obviously. They're sort of getting XP on all the lanes. And the only thing they're not really getting is that lot of farm. Obviously, Flensburgs are only 215, Devour only 233. It's just, you know, over the board, they're getting a lot of XP. But in terms of farm, obviously, Swiftblade leading ahead as well as Magmus and them.
Yeah, so I was looking at that. Lane. Yeah, XP. Oh, top lane. They're going to be going for killing Hag, but no, she is going to be fine. Cthulhu on the charge hit, but not enough for the kill. He just eats one of the minions, though, and it goes back to farming. Of course, using that the hook him now with the AoE damage.
Bottom lane.
Thanks to the changes. Bottom lane. The chase is on Glacius. Magmus not going to be able to get it, though. He stuns out Kraken and will run away. So yeah, he was looking to dive the Glacius, but the low range on the stun early on hurt his chances right there. I was going to say they'll swift, but the hook misses right there. Devour was trying to get the angle onto him, go for at least some harassment. I don't think it would have been killed by any means, but Swiftblade dodges it. And yeah, now 19-4, 400+ gold per minute with that Bloodlust kill. That's, again, got to be near perfect here as far as Certis farm is concerned. Or pretty good in the end. Is a good way to put it. Top lane, I assume Cthulhu's also having a great time. He is 19-6. Wretched Ag though 12-3. He's actually managed some pretty good farm himself with that set.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the only problem though. Is just, although, you know, Hellborn are getting a lot of XP in almost all the lanes because they're getting XP top, XP middle, XP bottom, as well as Tempest farming. So they're sort of leading in XP, but the longer this goes on, the farm lead will most likely be in favour of Dawn because obviously with the Tempest pickup, the other lanes are most likely going to fail and suffer because of that second support is just in the jungle farming.
Yeah.
So I mean, it expects, you know, Swiftblade. Big hook.
Oh, that is huge! I don't even know if that was intentional, but down goes Empath. We do see Devour though taking a lot of damage from Swiftblade, but no, he doesn't want to stand for the auto attack. He man down exactly. If he stayed in there, it would have been so close. Probably a kill, but yes, he would have been risking his own life, sure. So he mans down, though, and no return kill. But what about that hook, though? I mean, he just blindly hooked into the tower as Empath poured it in and got it. I'm pretty sure that was just blind hook.
Yeah, I think Glacius was on his own hill. Probably saw the TP coming in from the tower, and then Mickey just ended up chucking a hook out there and lands. And great hook indeed, and the animation really took me off surprise. Actually, it's insane animation on that outside. But in the end, kill onto Devourer, and a massive kill, honestly, because look at the gold lead now. It's sort of leveled out. Actually, it's in favor of Hellbomb. Actually, they're going in Tempest, actually, top lane. Yeah,
they're going to be collapsing right here. Torture going to be that target. He's in trouble. He is going to go down. Cthulhu has a trample, but he's going to use that defensively here as he needs to. Will Wretched Egg blink in and go for the kill? She has a Sono Scream level 3. She's going to go for it, the auto attack. Yes, and Flensmeister picks up the kill right there. So 2 kills at the top lane, and all of a sudden the momentum really shifting back in favor of Sync. Again, the overall top farmer does belong to Swiftblade, though. Still with that said, at 385 gold per minute. Magnus middle lane, he stuns out as he gets hooked in by Devourer, so not the most happening there. But look at the switch up, though. They sent Swiftblade bottom, actually, to really secure more of that farm, and Magnus now going to the middle lane. So adjustments coming out from Dawn right here.
Yeah, and I think the adjustments make sense because, I mean, you obviously want to secure the farm on Swiftblade. He's your late game carry, probably the hardest carry in this game. So, as long as I can put some good farm on him, they're definitely still in the game, regardless of what the score sheet says or the golden XP says. Oh, top lane, full of just harassing down onto Wretched Hag. But yeah, I mean, with the same time, putting Magnus mid as well. Like, if he does get hooked, and then obviously he can just stun out like we saw in the last time. Whereas if Swiftblade does get hooked, he's most likely going to fall. So, in the sort of same sense, it makes sense of why they switch.
Oh my God, middle lane again. Devourer using that ultimate. Magnus has a stun again. He's being so patient right here. He knows the hook is going to be coming. He tries to dart inside him. No, he can't. I love the patience on both sides. But Mickey's like, I'm a super hooker, man. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. He gets the hook, gets the kill. Bottom lane Kraken. He charges away in time. And he will be fine. That was going to be a good kill attempt because Swift Slashes was up ready to go with no creeps around. But Kraken, very smart heads up, charges away before any kill happens. And now Empath, he's going to be fine because Devour's actually out of mana currently for a hook. But yeah, that was a good back and forth mind game there that Mickey just simply won in the end.
Yeah, and this is the fact. I mean, obviously, haven't had that much practice against the top players in the world. Top lane though.
What's going on up here? Cthulhu Fun, he's tanky. Is he tanky enough? Tempest has an ultimate. Are they going to risk using it right here? Yes, they are. And that's the good decision. I mean, he was probably getting away if it wasn't for that ultimate. So kill's a kill, as we always say.
Exactly. I mean, and Dawn, like I said before, just haven't had the experience playing against the top HOM players in the world. And I mean, this is definitely their sort of initiation. Bottom lane, actually, Swiftblade might be in trouble as well.
Crack. Misses the charge for the stun right there. At least, well, I guess the spin also. Preventing anything further. So yeah, he does get away, and he actually has a Hungry Spirit on him. So that's I assume that's going to turn into an Abyssal Skull. That's what we usually see, not the Whispering Helm here on Swiftblade. But beating the average Tempest of really, that's the average Tempest kills, 1.7. Jeez. But anyways, yeah, so he's already doing good. Slapped is a great Tempest, obviously just a great jungler in general. And we are seeing that here once again. Middle lane in the meantime. Eruption going up. No, the freeze comes out. Not going to happen. The hook attempt for Devour. Going for a turn. Not going to happen either, though. The wall off. A little bit of blockage for Devour. He's forced to go around, but he's so damn tanky. The ultimate going to be used. And now Magnus is regretting this decision right here. The hook attempt from Devour in 2 seconds. Probably going to be another kill unless he misses it. Is it going to miss? Is it going to miss? The life leech comes out. Empath is like, hook me in, please. Oh, my God, so close. But Devourer will stay alive and gets the kill in the end. So Sync has really turned it on now. And yeah, I definitely think, the inexperience of Dawn is starting to kick in here. Sync is just such a strong team and playing clearly on the ball here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this is the problem. Obviously, when you have the top teams and the top players going against obviously a new and inexperienced team, especially teams who haven't really played a lot actually in terms of playing against the top players. Obviously, they've been in the qualifiers the last couple of weeks. You just don't expect some of the plays to happen coming out from the top players, and as a result, they are getting punished in the laning phase. I'm not saying this is definitely over in game one. They still have the Swiftblade. He's not, hasn't got the greatest of farm. He's 3-2 and 322 GPM now. 1-1 and 1, but they've got the heroes to get back into the game in terms of ganking and and securing the earlier game aggression. Yeah. It's just depending if everything's goes according to plan.
Exactly. So Kraken in the meantime at the bottom lane again. He's been doing just great. This is a Suicide Kraken who's 1-0-1, 330 gold per minute. Casey to say least again. This is their comfort hero according to the stats at least in terms of high win percentage and playing it quite often. With that Kraken. So, you see top lane, Wretched Egg, Flensmeister, actually 4th on the team overall in farm. So, again, it's not like she's had a great start here. And that if anything, may be the good side for the Legion team. But at the same time, Devour, Kraken, Tempest having a great time. Again, Cthulhu Fun, a little bit of trouble. No, he's going to be fine. Tempest didn't have an ultimate either. So, I mean, probably no matter what, just simply kind of scaring him off. And if anything, going to push his tower. Devour, though, coming in with the invis. Uh-oh, Cthulhu he's going to not expect this. Devour's going to probably open with the ultimate right here. There we go with the lockdown, and that's going to be an easy kill. No TP support. Probably would have been late anyways. And this tower is now going to fall on top of that. So Sync's starting to move around now as well. I mean, if you're Dawn here, what can they really do? I mean, they were starting to fall so far behind at this point.
Yeah, the only problem is that obviously this Hellborn draft and lineup is so oriented in terms of team fighting that when they're trying to get ganks off, they just fail to do so. And at the same time, I mean, Legion don't even have the items to really start being too effective. I mean, Magnus doesn't even have Steam Boots yet. I mean, they just got red boots on Philippin and Torture. Empath doesn't even have that luxury of having boots. So the items they really need to get back into this game are just not there yet. And by that time, I mean, they're already 10,000 experience down, 8,000 gold lead. Obviously, with Zinc, like the top teams, if you give them one sort of little inch in terms of misplays, I mean, they take a mile off you.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that here.
Yeah, exactly. 11 minutes into the game, 8,000 goal lead, 10.5 thousand experience lead. I hate to say it, but that is just an overwhelming lead, especially this early on in the game. And the chances of coming back for Dawn are pretty damn slim when you consider everything. Not only the stats, but just, them as a team and how, they are the underdogs going into this match in the first place. Now, the saving grace, of course, as always, it is a best out of 3 here. So if anything, perhaps already starting to put some thought in going into the next game of what you can do better. But Empath, in the meantime, simply runs into both Devo and Kraken. And not much more she could do from there, which is simply maybe trying to ward with the one ward aside she has and nothing else. Swift Blade also gets caught. Kraken doing so much work. Swift Slash has come out. That's simply just to try to survive. The hook will miss. And actually, Swift Blade does survive in the end as the TP's coming. One is canceled. Cthulhu comes in and realizes that probably should have canceled it as well because not much he's going to do here now either. So at least Swift Blade stays alive again. Thinking of positives here for Dawn. But his 333 gold per minute, you got to think is maybe not going to be nearly enough. They're going to try to maybe go for the bottom lane, but perhaps not. Oh, wow, look at that. 99.9% gold efficiency, apparently, in favor of Sync Esports. That's, well, near perfect. That's pretty good. Yeah, they're having a good time.
Yeah, definitely. And at the same time, it's really hard for Legion to get back because now Hellborn have got that advantage. All they want to do is team fight, and obviously at the moment, Hellborn have the stronger team fight. So, I mean, Legion's sort of caught in a rock and a hard place. But middle lane, though. Yeah,
they're going to go for Glacius. Get the free kills at least, and they will pick up that one. So, lonely Glacius support being played by Insania, of course. Ends up being a free kill for them. Used a bit, but hey, gets the kill. And any kills, good for them at this point. But yeah, Devour's like, I got all the big plays right there. Using the portal, key to his advantage. Goes to his team with the hook. And the kill on 11. That was pretty, man.
Big K. Oh, man. I mean, we always talk about a Super KG landing the insane hooks, but that hook is so hard to hit. Obviously, you've got a portal key before the hook even hits, and at the same time, obviously, you've got to hit the hook in the first place. So, landing something like that is just insanely hard to do. Yet Mickey makes it look so easy to do. And this is what I was saying. I mean, Zinc's so strong, and they're trying to take the team fight middle lane as well. Middle lane.
Gonna go Tempest. He's gonna be fine. Obliterate attacked by the Cthulhu, but completely missed the trample. So no follow up to be had. And again, that's just another case of they're trying. They really are, but it's they're so far behind, and it's just not connecting right here. So they may give it a 1 or 2 more goes here in terms of trying to stay alive here in game number 1, but again, the lead is just already looking pretty insurmountable here for Sync Esports. Swiftblade does finish the Abyssal Skull, so at least has a little bit extra farming utility now and can kind of go into the jungle here and maybe stack it himself, which is as he's doing, and try to pick up the farm that way. But clearly not going as planned here. Now, I also think back to the draft, and we talked about research being done. I mean, not only Dawn banning the Revenant, but Sync banning out those heroes, the Mage Bane.
Yep. Blood Hunter.
Yeah, Blood Hunter, the carry heroes that Ser just likes to play. So you gotta wonder if that's kind of throwing them off a little bit too.
I have to admit, yeah, because I think Dawn really do like to use, obviously, the Mage Bane and particularly the Blood Hunter, because they're quite an aggressive team, and Blood Hunter just sets up such easy kills as well. I mean, Swiftblade can definitely get involved in terms of getting kills, but I mean, compared to a Blood Hunter, it's just a whole nother hero, obviously. So they might be sort of put off in that, and obviously the props to Flensmeister and Zinc for sort of obviously reading that kind of research into sort of Dawn, and as well, it's definitely paying off. So.
Well, we'll see. Perhaps what happens next game as far as that decision-making goes, but obviously, is still finishing up this one at the very least. Triple stack ain't just going to be done. They kind of split the farm a little bit. Swiftblade getting the majority of them, I believe, and finishing it off here. So again, they're still trying, as they should, and they have every right to, of course, as I kind of get some momentum going into the second game, maybe a little bit. But Zlap leading the game in farm, and he's dangerous when he does so. Around this GPM, he averages 8-1 record, and pretty good stats overall. So. Yeah, to say the least. Again, Zlap playing that Tempest. He plays a damn good one, and you know, not the hero we see too often. You pointed that out. Fielding and Parasite being banned, jungle in general kind of has died out recently. But bringing it with the Tempest, and clearly proving to be an efficient pickup here. And you know, I kind of wonder if that has to do with almost maybe even expecting a Swiftblade. I mean, it seems like it's good against him, of course, but you have to go before that. So.
Yeah, and the reason why they're doing very, very well is because the reason why you didn't really used to see Tempest still too much is because he just doesn't get active early enough and just doesn't really offer that much. Yet Slap's been playing a very active Tempest, 2 kills and 3 assists already, just 15 minutes in. I know it's not that much, but for a Tempest it is quite a bit. And as a result, I mean, they haven't lost the laning phase or the early game, which sometimes when you pick up a Tempest you can do. And as a result, it's working out very, very well for them. So it's just well played, obviously, to Zinc.
Yeah, you see Empath right here, 0 item build, not the most efficient usually, but it's understandable considering how difficult the game has been going. I love that, man. That's just one of the main reasons why I love. Get over here, you bitch, is what the Devourer says, except a lot more cooler than how I just put it. It's a pretty cool avatar. Only level 10 still, actually. You got noticing that, but at the same time, you know, he's up there with the rest of his team. He's going to look for an attempt right here. You can tell he wants something. But yeah, bottom lane in the meantime. Spin for the Swiftblade. Torch is going to end up falling. Swiftblade, though, with the spin. He's mitigating plenty. They're going for the kill on the Kraken. He's not going to be able to get it, though. Magnus maybe in range. No, Kraken charges away and is going to be fine. Wretched Egg will blink out before anything further happens. She, too, is going to be fine. So, again, they're trying to make plays here. Is done, but it's just simply put, not working. And Sync going to kind of regroup here and eventually look to group up and push, I'm sure. They got double portal keys, obviously, both on Kraken and Devourer. Wouldn't be surprised if Tempest also happens to go for one sooner than later. He's getting the core items, though, early on. They're going in once again. Here we go. Magnus down there. The trample misses. Obliterate is up, though. In comes the Bat Blast, doing plenty of damage. There's the Tempest hold. He is going to end up falling, but Kraken comes in. Release Kraken not going to be used because it's still on cooldown. But the charge and the splash attack enough to take out Magnus. Cthulhu Font thought he might have been getting away. Not for much, though, said Flensmeister, and ends up getting taken out with the Sonar Scream. So Swiftblade does survive, somehow with full life even, but again, simply put, they can't be having negative and even exchanges even right now. They need to be having obliterating exchanges in their favor to have a chance in this game. So Sync well on their way to a victory in Game 1, and I think this is at that point if you're Dom where, again, kind of just absorb it in, just be like, okay, what went wrong? Let's maybe kind of plan our next game here as far as drafting is concerned, and then look to concede and go into it. But last thing you want to do is bang your head against the wall and just keep on going into death here.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going to happen.
But at the same time, I think Zinc, I mean, I know it's rare to say, but actually I think they're the #1 team in Hon right now. I mean, they've been practicing so much over the last couple of months, and BMG have become a little bit inactive, honestly. And I think, obviously, this game is probably not the best one to go on, but you're seeing how strong Zinc actually are in general, and I think we're going to see this throughout the couple of cycles in Hunt Season 3.
Well, you know, that brings up a good point to actually top lane. Devour, a hook, no, not a kill, yes, a kill. Memphis stunned out, but Zlapped actually ends up getting credit for the kill right there, I believe maybe the stun. Giving him credit. Torch in middle lane, you also are going to fall, says Kraken. Zlapped gets the tower, so yeah, again, just things continuing. Not much more to say about what's going on there, but you know, going to the point of how Sync's just so strong themselves, and you know, you could argue, even though the results may say different as far as Crimes and Caliber and stuff, BMG has gone through some roster changes and whatnot. Sync got several first place votes in the power rankings for the preseason that was released recently, and actually on the article on HauntTour.com, again, Quincy writing that up, putting that together. GG well played's coming out here, but there was kind of a split between Sync and BMG there, so again, the point that obviously these two teams, the two elite teams right now, but it's going to be interesting to see when they match up. You know it's going to be coming. That ultimately plays out too. But yeah, okay. I was almost about to say it, so I might as well. Easy victory, really, for Sync Esports over Don, and you know, maybe saw that coming. But again, game number 2. I'm hoping that Don does respond. Don, yes, that's right. Don does respond here, and forces even in game 3. We'll see. Oh, any final thoughts here, Mini Maggot?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just think obviously Zinc just played incredibly well. I mean, they had a strong team fight sort of lineup and sort of strategy, yet they honestly won it in the laning phases in terms of their great map movements and their ganking. I mean, particularly on Slapped on the 10 bis, setting up 8 kills. Just like the Kraken and Devourer, and just playing incredibly well, and wouldn't be surprised if they take it in game 2 as well. But we'll have to see.
Exactly. Sync Esports, again, looking strong as expected. Don, they are the new team here on the block, you can safely say. Win undefeated, I should say, in the qualifiers. Unfortunately, they start off the Cycle 1 with a loss here, but again, understandable against Sync. At the very least, looking forward to a better fight here from Don. And again, if anything, perhaps a surprise to maybe push into a game number 3. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break right here as always. Going to be jumping into game number 2 here shortly. Short break. Stay tuned, guys. We have game number 3. Or 2, excuse me. Game number 3 maybe later on. But game number 2 going to be coming up here. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.